I was already here.
Well, my name is Pani Mbonyeme. I'm a graduate of University of Northern Colorado with Political Science and International Affairs degrees, and I'm currently pursuing my Master in Social Work from Metro State University, and as focusing on child development and youth development. And I'm excited to be here. Shout out to Limia for putting this together. Thank you.
What is the class one?
How you all doing? My name is Tashawn Montgomery, recent graduate from University of Denver, studying international business with minor in political science. I have my own photography company called True Lens Photography, and I also do part-time teaching at a rural about social justice and civic engagement. So I love these type of conversations. I love the dialogue around Blackness, Pan-Africanism, and help pave these paths towards liberation and empowerment. So thank you again to Lamir for throwing this all together and inviting me to be on this panel.
My name is James. I'm a Zairian, since everybody claimed to be from the DRC. I'm from Congo as well. I'm also a graduate from the University of Northern Colorado with a BA in Communication in National Affairs. And I also graduated from the University of Colorado, Denver with a master's degree in political science. I'm also competent in the area of international relations, international development, and comparative politics, and I was also teaching part-time at the university.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Naquita Ricks. I am from Liberia originally. I'm a local politician. I'm also the president of the African Chamber of Commerce and an owner of a small business where I do mortgages to help people gain home ownership.
Thank you so much. As you can see, we have a very diverse Pan-African panel, and I'll just go straight to the questions. And before that, I'll just share a quote that probably some of you know, or maybe all of us know, coming from Kwame Nkrumah, one of the leaders of Pan-Africanism, where he says that I am an African not because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. And I just want to, the first question that I have a lot of questions, but the first one, in your identification as an African, what comes first? Ethnicity, nationality, continentality?
As I stated in my introduction, I'm a proud Pan-African. So for me, it's about the continent. As much as I know that within the continent, Congo has so much to contribute. Congo plays a massive part of the continent. But I'm one of those people that believe that we need to start looking beyond our own borders. I look at Africa like a household, right? And in each household, there are different rooms, and each room has its own significant part to play. There's a place to rest, there's a place to cook, there's a place where you can have small enjoyment. For some people, there's even a place to smoke or swim, right? And Africa has been spread out with different minerals, different types of temperatures, different cultures across the continent, but we tend to just think of our own spaces of where we've grown up. And I think when we start to think as, I need to take advantage of what's going on in Nigeria, I need to learn about what's happening in Burkina Faso, how can that benefit me? If I go over to that side and understand how they're moving culturally, and also take advantage of the terrain, how can I apply that to what's going on in Congo? And I think when we leave the motherland and we come over here in the diaspora, we tend to almost want to showcase the power of our different parts where we come from. And those are Nigerians, don't worry about them. As Ghanaians, we are very different. We tend to do that a lot. Because, what did you do? They were very angry. Oh, no, that person is Somalia. But actually, if we all defend each other, and come and represent each other as Africans, we're able to pinpoint the advantages of being an African and the disadvantage of being an African. So for me, I've grown up in the UK, and I believe, the UK is the melting pot of the world as far as I'm concerned. You meet all types of people that you learn so much from them. And one of the things I've realized about being a Londoner is that I've been able to grow in my pride of being African because I've seen how different Africans interact with each other. And as a unit, as we come together, we're able to teach other people and break down the stereotypes. So, I'm from the legacy of Lumumba. So I'm from the legacy of Patrice Lumumba, and one of the things that he left behind was make sure you connect with your brothers and sisters across the continent and beyond.
When I think about that quote, I try to think about why he said it and the context of why he said it. Kwame himself spent a lot of his formative years outside of Ghana. In fact, when he came here to the United States, he went to a historically black college, Lincoln University, Pennsylvania, right? He left there, went to Oxford in the UK, where here in America, he got to see the way, black Americans were being discriminated. He then moves to the UK, sees the way West Indians, and Afro-Africans are being discriminated. He goes back to Ghana, and then realizes, with the Western education and everything, he's still being discriminated to work in his own country. And so one of the conclusions that he came up with is that as he traveled all over the world, he realized that the only thing that we all had in common was our Africanity. And so when I think about this quote, I think about the things that transcends just, me being Congolese and somebody being Nigerians, which is that, to a white man, you're black. It's really it. It's really it. Whether you can profess that I have Sapoloshi from DRC and everything, they don't see it. They don't see it. They see you as a black person. So at the end, our Africanity is one.
Well, that quote is very interesting. Me personally, as I identify myself, first of all, I would say I identify as African origin of Congo. That's how I kind of look at it. Different person has the way that they identify themselves, but because the reason why I identify myself that way, because there are certain issues that only does not affect Congolese people only. Any issue that goes in Congo affects the entire continent of Africa. And if we start looking at ourselves as African, then we can be able to tackle and track down to all those issues that's affecting all of us in the continent of Africa. So I feel like when we start looking at ourselves as more as Congolese or as more Nigerian or as more so and so, we are kind of closing down some of those doors of opportunity to be able to expand across the board and reach out to other people across the side. So I feel like we should identify ourselves more than African, then we can look at the bigger picture of why we better our continent and our community as a whole together.
Yeah, definitely. So first and foremost, I identify with my blackness and my Africanity. Ethnically, I am Black American, but I don't personally identify with America itself as a nation because America itself has never given Black Americans the privilege of being a first-class citizen. Even to this day, Black Americans are treated as second-class citizens, and even the way that America interacts with the rest of the globe, I don't really want to have that same association because America is very violent towards the rest of the globe. So I don't really want to be at that same table if that table is exploiting my brothers and sisters abroad. So I think that quote is very relevant because regardless of where I go, regardless of who I talk to in the diaspora, we have that common experience of blackness, of anti-blackness being something that has impacted us, be it slavery, colonialism, imperialism. We have that commonality. We have our cultural differences that we also acknowledge and respect, but even then within those cultural differences, you can find so many habits that exist within our cultures, and we can crack jokes among that. We have so many rhythms within different genres that we can crack jokes about. We have all these similarities that transcend national lines. So first and foremost, I always identify my blackness.
Well, when it comes to the whole quote and the way I see it, I think if we really want an Africa where we unite and have that common thing that we share, foremost I would identify myself as an African if I can actually identify myself as a Congolese because I come from the continent. And therefore, if I identify myself as an African, then I have to make that distinction that I am a Congolese, but at the end of the day, I'm still an African. And like we say, anywhere you go in the world, the first thing when they see you, they don't see that you're a Congolese. So they see you as an African man, they see you as a black man, and so if we want to foster dialogue, I think for our development is for most is to identify as an African man before you're able to identify from where you are from or whatever tribe you belong to.
I identify myself as a global citizen of African descent. I connect with people from wherever you are. I think the first thing that people do see is our blackness. They sometimes don't distinguish between whether you're Black American or you're Black African. I think how we represent and put ourselves in the world and what we're doing to connect back to the continent as far as development and trade and trying to push our race forward is what I'm about. So that is what I hope to do in this world.
Yes, as you can see, we have like very diverse answers that really goes back to the continent. And as you know, like if you go to the Caribbean, you know, like there is that notion of like, there is no Africa, but there are Africans, you know, and because also there is that kind of risk that we face of being like just boxed in some people here, and even at that very low, top level, think that Africa is a country, right? I mean, and we've, you know, heard that on campuses and in other forums. But I think also the other issue, as you mentioned, is that, you know, like it's coming from colonialism, you know, that kind of divide and rule and trying to piece us together. But how would we do to kind of, how do we do to preserve that African or Pan-African unity? You know, how do we resist the outside forces, you know, visible and invisible, you know, and this is...
So the interesting thing about Pan-Africanism is that, you know, the forefathers were not necessarily from the motherland per se. You know, a lot of them were African Americans and from the Caribbean, right? And they were really going in search of decolonization. This was one of the main things they were focusing on, because they needed to free themselves from the mentality of slavery and figure out ways of reconnecting with the motherland. But you know, the stakes have changed now. So, you know, for every generation, we establish something new, we achieve something new, and the stakes must change. And I think in our generation, we reach the stage where we are global citizens, as my sister said here, rightly so. We're doers, we're thinkers, we're creators, you know, we're manipulators, we're influencers, right? And we're all around the world. And one of the main things is to meet people where they are. We all share different stories. If you're an African from America and your great-great-grandparents were born in America, your story is different to someone who's from Ghana, for example, or someone who's grown up in Papua New Guinea. And I think, for me, one of the things I like to encourage is that we connect with everyone from around the world. We listen to each other's stories and we don't judge. Right? There's a recent story that came out. I think there's an actress called Lisa Ray. I'm not sure anyone's seen that video, right? Okay, and she's gone to Ghana. And you know, this is someone who's in search of our culture, of our roots. She's gone to Ghana and they've given her a title in one of the regions in Ghana as the Queen Mother. She's obviously loved that. This is making her feel like she's back home. Maybe she was misinformed that it wasn't the Queen Mother of Ghana per se, but she's come back to the US and she's giving that information out that she's the Queen Mother of Ghana. And everybody I've seen in the comments are actually just bashing her, you know, giving her a hard time, saying you're silly, you're misinformed, you're an idiot. But actually, we have to understand that we have to meet people from where they are. If she was misinformed and it took advantage of her excitement to just be back home, then that's something that we have to actually inform her at ease. So I think it's really, really important to understand that everyone's got different stories, and in order for us to preserve our culture, is to be able to understand where are you at with your understanding of what blackness is. Let's share those information, and if you're a doer, do. If you're a thinker, allow us to think. We've had some amazing information from educators here, some information I've never known before, you know. So I think it's very, very important that we look at this new generation of Pan-Africans as doers, as thinkers, as creators, and being able to connect around the world. We have the internet.
Your question was how do we prevent the various powers from the outside? Okay. Yeah, I think about, and I think I mentioned this from the previous panel. I'm talking about the literacy rate in Africa being at 65%, and 17 countries basically not able to read or write. And I say this because we've seen correlations where, you know, individuals in specific countries, when they're able to read newspapers and see changes, right? I can give an example with the Ghanaian Revolution, I think in 1974 or 79. They were able to do that because literally people are able to read newspapers at work. And I think one of the things that we have to do as Pan-Africanists is actually well explain what Pan-Africanism is. Because I can tell, you know, I learned about this not too long ago. We hear about Pan-Africanism, but when you ask somebody to define what it is and what they do, it then becomes complex. So I think once we realize that we need to define this and put everybody else on board. But importantly as well, that whole reading and writing, it is important, and we won't go any further if we have 17 countries that are not able to read, which means that people are making decisions for them. If you're not able to write, somebody's making a decision for you, somebody's making a financial decision for you, politically you're being exploited, and therefore you're not even representing your constituents.
Building on that, I feel like the issue that we have the most is lack of information, lack of being informed on those matters that are really affecting us. We tend mostly to sit back and just let those in power kind of do everything for us, and they run everything, and they never come back and report back to us saying this is how everything went down, and this is what's killing us a lot within the African Pan-Africanism, the community, and we see that it's like a pattern that keeps repeating itself from previous generation to older generation, and it keeps passing down until we see that every single day. Even up to this day, we still see that lack of communication, lack of information, and those are some of the most important things that are supposed to be easily shared toward the community to empower people, to empower young men, young girls, to be able to build onto those information. But those information are somehow kept sacred away from people. It's like our leader doesn't want us to have access to those information. And this is something that we, as an African community, we are struggling with, that lack of information a lot. Because we don't know how certain things are work, how certain things are operated in Africa. We never see there's somebody on the news or anything giving information, this is what happened, or this is how things were distributed within the community, within the department. And this is something I feel like with moving forward, it would be better, especially for our generation, to learn more to share information, to learn more to communicate and reach out to one another. It will be able to build us and make us a better person or better citizen for a better tomorrow, and to be able to help our continent to be able to move forward. That's how I can pick on this one.
I think there are two major things that stand as roadblocks in the maintenance of Pan-Africanism. One, apathy, and two, miseducation through a Eurocentric